Call to order. Salute to the flag. There you go.
One over here.
Oh, there's one over there. Oh, is it over there?
That's fine. You,
That'll work. All right. He's all right.
get up over here. I don't know if I can. You're at the corner of the whiteboard.
You can hold it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
good.
You can hold it,
Yeah, yeah.
from what I read.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You need to turn it around that way.
roll call of the bond advisory committee.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Hernandez?
Here.
Ms. Lopez?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Romero? Here. Mr. Stroll?
Here.
Mr. May? Here. Mr. Rodriguez?
Here. Approval of agenda. Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Stroll? Mr. May?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Bond advisory member comments. Ms. Martinez.
This is a time and place for any board, bond member, bond committee member, to make any comments regarding anything that's on their mind.
Okay, financial report, bond expenditures and encumbrances, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. There are no reports. I apologize to the committee, but based on expenditures that have been made since the last meeting, there hasn't been that much activity, but I do, I won't make any excuses, but I will. We're in the process of converting to a new software program, was taking priority, but at the next BOC meeting in August, I will be able to present to the committee a full year's year-ending report regarding all the expenditures that we incurred this past fiscal year.
Okay, we have one call to the audience. Daniel Dong.
I'm sorry, sir, I've never been here before, do I?
Come to the front, yeah.
Just be advised you have 3 minutes for your comments.
That's fine. I won't be more than that.
Okay,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Hello, my name is Daniel Dong. I'm a teacher at Billy Lane Lofton Middle School. I teach science and I teach a mariachi program. First of all, I want to say thank you for all that you guys have done to support the music programs within the Sunnyside Unified School District. I'm representing 4 schools today. The 4 schools that I'm representing are myself, Sierra Middle School mariachi program with Leonardo Sagaray back there, the Gallego Intermediate mariachi program with Andrea Pina back there, and Miss Liberty Elementary School mariachi program under the direction of Miss Poro. We are requesting $24,700 to purchase instruments for these 4 different schools to continue this budding program. The music programs we have created are developing, they're growing. Every day that or every year that passes, we have students that show increased interest in the programs, and more students are interested in enrolling in the mariachi programs, in the guitar classes and things that we offer. Lawfer is looking for some guitarrones, 2 guitarrones, 2 vihuelas, and 15 Yamaha guitars. Liberty is also looking for the same. Sierra is looking for 2 guitarrones, 2 vihuelas, 15 guitars, 2 trumpets. Gallego is looking for 10 violins, 4 trumpets, 8 guitars, and 2 vihuelas. Currently, the Lawfer inventory we have at Lawfer Middle School, we have 2 guitarrones, 2 vihuelas, 2 violins, and 8 guitars. At Liberty, there's 1 guitarrón and 1 vihuela. At Sierra, there's 2 guitarrones, 1 with a tuning peg repair, 3 vihuelas with 1 with a broken neck, 34 guitars with 2 broken bridges, 9 violins, 2 trumpets with 1/3 valve repair. There are also 8 donated violins that need various repairs. Gallego Intermediate has 3 guitarrones, 6 violas, 2 guitars, 1 trumpet, and 4 violins that were loaned to students by Ms. Pina's personal collection. So she actually took it upon herself to loan instruments to the students that she owned herself, just so the students would have them. Currently, all schools have $0 budget from the allocated the district for instruments. Lawford projected about 60 students using the various instruments from grades 6 to 8. Liberty also projects having 60 mariachi students using various instruments grades 3 through 6. Sarah has about 150 students grades 2 through 8, and Gallego about 100 mariachi students 5 through 8. Some students are not in band or orchestra and just need instruments. Last year was the first year that we had our first honor mariachi program for 7th, 8th grade middle school students. In fact, we had our superintendent of the school district perform at that event. He did an excellent job, by the way. I don't know if you guys ever saw that, but if you can see the videos, he did an amazing job. You'll just take my word for it. There was also a second summer mariachi program. We did a summer mariachi program with students throughout the city of Tucson this past year. We had students from different schools from outside of the district as well. So we are developing mariachi, not just within our school, but with the instructors, just within the city of Tucson. And our goal is to help enrich the lives of young people where we can find them. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Do you have, Daniel, do you have a breakdown of what each school's cost?
I do.
Can I have that?
The breakdown of each classes.
Because, yeah, well, it was 24,700 total that you're asking
Yes.
from the box.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Point of order, please. Could you just direct?
You're right,
Mr. Brown?
I taught myself, so.
Just direct them.
If he wants to give a formal presentation.
The amounts per school, is that correct?
Just,
Is that what you're asking for?
just forward the information to Mr. Holmes.
Yeah.
And we'll make arrangements to make a formal presentation.
Yes, so I apologize for the question because this is out of order.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the proceedings, so
Yeah, so that was my bad.
please don't, I'm not offended at all.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask for him to put a proposal together for
Yeah.
each of us.
Okay, I have some quotes from different areas, but I'm continuing to get quotes from different areas as well. Okay, sorry.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes.
When the music teacher for the schools was getting a bid for everything, did you know she was doing that?
When she's getting a bid,
Getting bids for all the schools that they needed instruments?
We will address.
Not allowed either?
We will address all those
Oh, okay,
concerns.
all right.
When we make the presentation, we'll ask for all that pertinent information
I thought it
regarding why
was
the request was originally
asking for
requested.
prices with
Yeah.
no
So
allowed.
we'll make sure we get.
We'll have to agendize his item to the box so that you guys can formalize a series of questions if you want to entertain his request.
All right, my bad.
You're good.
So the only thing I wanted to ask is if there's other schools
yes, correct.
that are doing that request, I guess if you could get together with them and just bring that entire proposal to us. So that you don't leave here and then another group comes asking for the same thing.
For the other school.
We'll
Give
coordinate.
them,
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Everybody.
Just a shortened thing. The one teacher that did come, Mr. Costa, in elementary, just detailed everything for us. That's exactly what we need with respect to money.
Okay.
Be great for us when they put on the agenda.
Daniel and I, Mr. Holmes and Ms. Gallegos and curriculum people will meet with Daniel and make a formal presentation to the block committee.
Thank you.
Okay.
To be all inclusive. I know how the committee doesn't like to be piecemeal. I see where you're coming from.
We want
Okay.
detail,
Okay,
All right.
will do.
and just pictures of the instruments,
Absolutely,
so we know what you're talking about.
Okay.
absolutely. All right.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Okay. Desert View High School Tennis Court Fencing Project.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo, block members. In anticipation of graduation and with so many things going on, Block was requested and approved a lot of projects to be completed, and one of the projects involved the tennis courts at Desert View High School. Unfortunately, in our confusion and our aggressiveness to get these projects completed, an oversight or really confusion occurred whereby a needed project specifically the replacement of the 12-foot high-foot fence along the west side of Desert View High School, was initiated in order to have it completed and ready for graduation, which part of it was. And then the actual tennis court project that you did approve, which involved the demolition of a court and a half of tennis courts, and you approved a bid. As a result of looking at that project, some of the work that was approved was determined to not be needed, but some of the work that was needed was not approved. Specifically, the removal of the fence, 12-foot high fence around the tennis court area was going to be demolished and thrown away. There's good fencing, good poles. We decided to contract with Liberty Fencing to say remove the fence, have it stored in our storage area to be used for a later date, along with the poles. So we gave them the go-ahead to proceed with this project. End result is this: we saved $7,000 on the tennis court project resurfacing. We incurred $22,350 for fencing work, of which was not approved. Net result is that we're looking at BOC approval to award and ratify the work done by Liberty in the amount of $22,350, which will end up really costing the district an additional $15,350 over and above what you had approved for that project originally.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Encinas, you just confused me more.
Yes.
We approved monies to put a temporary fencing around the south end of the track for graduation.
No, you approved to have a permanent fence installed.
Permanent.
Yes.
But I thought temporary, they were going to do a temporary fence first. We did approve, but during that time also first a temporary, right?
The district maintenance department went out and purchased with separate funds temporary fencing, which is then put up by our maintenance department to make sure the graduation
Right.
took place, because a permanent fence could not be installed.
So then we approved the permanent
Yes, ma'am.
fence. Okay. We discussed the fencing for the tennis courts.
The west side,
Yeah,
that's
the
falling,
west
those
side, it's
falling,
yeah,
those,
I've
yes.
seen it. But I don't recall when we approved.
You did not, that's the issue
Okay,
here.
that's why I'm totally confused
that's-
here, whatever it's word, how it's word.
That's what we're asking the,
So in this confusion, they did the fencing on the tennis court and there's no permanent fencing around the track
yet,
yet.
yes. The PO has been issued and the work is going to be completed by, where's Mr.?
Should be completed by Tuesday or Wednesday of this coming week.
So
That's-
the work's already started.
Yes, oh yes, what happens is that the work, if you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rodriguez, the work around the track area involved installing a 6-foot wide asphalt paving by Elite.
It's 8 foot wide.
8-foot wide paving, which was originally scheduled to be 4-foot wide. As a result of it being 8 feet, required now the holes to be drilled in the asphalt pave that was not called for. So because of that, and the newly installed asphalt, we postponed having Liberty Fence go in there and make holes in fresh asphalt paving.
But how did this confusion
Timing,
occur?
the confusion for the fence,
Yeah.
I think
From
just,
a 12 foot to a 6 foot, whatever?
no, it's already 4 foot.
Or, well, yeah, from 4 to a
I think
12.
the dollar amount was almost
But
identical,
I'm just
wasn't
saying,
it?
in the spec or
No.
proposal, it doesn't, PO, whatever you want to call it?
Yes, that's
Does it
4-foot
not
fence.
state 12 foot, 4 foot, or whatever?
It says 4 foot.
Okay.
Well, what happened is that there was 2 prices for fencing. One was the 4-foot high fence around the track. It involved 4 man gates and 2 vehicular gates on that 4-foot fence. BOC approved that, and BOC approved that at a price of $18,500. So then we had a price for the west side of the tennis fence that was falling down, that BOC wanted a price on, to
Right.
replace that fencing as part of the project that would occur, basically at the same time that the 6 courts were resurfaced, which BOC had approved that. But that bid for that fencing was not approved by BOC, and the price for it was $18,000. So in all the rush of getting things ready for additional efforts that we had on other little fence projects and grading to get ready for the Desert View graduation on May 25th, Philip and I, Philip of Liberty Fence, we thought, I remember the 18,000 figure that west fence was approved. So we went ahead and installed it. And then I got an invoice from Philip for that fencing, and I said, I need you to put the PO number on there. And then he sent me a PO, but it was the PO for the track. There was a difference of $50. And so I said, this is for the track. And then all of a sudden I started researching, looking into it, and I was supposed to submit that Liberty Fence bid for the west fence of the tennis courts in the May 17th block, but that's when we were rushing to do everything, and I omitted that unintentionally. And so that was the confusion, and that's where we're at today. In addition to that, there wasn't any pricing or approval for two small invoices, and that was to remove the fencing around the court and a half that was demolished. And so one of those was, to remove the fencing was $2,650, and that fencing was still in good shape, so Liberty Fence took it over to the maintenance yard for reuse at a future time. And then the other figure was $1,200 to cut the post at the top of the curb, which they did an excellent job on. It's real clean, everything's nice. And we had to get that done as part of that demolition for the court and a half. So those items were not approved by Bach, but the work was done.
Thank you.
I don't know if I like this setup because it's awful hard to see. I got a question. You said the asphalt went from 4 foot to 8 foot?
Yes.
Was that already approved?
Yes, sir. That was a separate from the tennis court resurfacing. It was part of the regrading and DG installation.
Right, no extra cost for that. Regional Fence was in a hurry, scrambling, because all the schools were wanting everything during the summer.
Visual paving.
So that paving, even though we approved it, I think it was a 3 foot wide. He said, our machine is
8 foot wide.
8 foot wide. And he says, it's gonna cost me more than asphalt, but when I figure the labor, he says, I wanna just get it done. Will you accept 8 foot wide? And I said, well, we can't pay extra. And he said, no extra cost. So I talked to Mr. Labarrio. He says, absolutely, that would help keep the track a lot cleaner. And so everyone was for it, and so I said, go ahead and do it. And there was no additional charge for that going from 3 foot to 8 foot.
That would be for the labor or for the materials included?
Well, for all of it. It was a lump sum for labor and materials, and no additional fees were paid for that than what Bach had approved originally.
Okey-doke. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei?
Yes.
Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Desert View High School Tennis Court, water drainage project. Mr. Encinas?
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. If the committee will recall, you did give approval for the district to proceed with the installation of a drainage concrete way along the west side of the tennis courts. Work to have been done and completed by our maintenance department. Upon checking with our staff, they felt that they just couldn't handle it given the amount of time that they had for other projects, plus the workload they have already. So and Bob did approve for the district to proceed with a cost not to exceed $5,000 to complete that work. Mr. Gomez did obtain a cost proposal from Copper Hill Construction to construct the drainage control, which includes curbing. Maybe you can hit.
It was for a concrete curb, and their bid was $4,314.75, so it was below the not to exceed $5,000 amount. And they went ahead and installed that curb, including adding a number 4 rebar in the length of the curb, and that project was completed yesterday. And they did an excellent job. They also covered the chain link fencing as they were pouring that curb, so there'd be no splashing on the new chain link fence of the tennis court or on the tennis court itself. And then they cleaned up very well afterwards. So the work was very professionally done.
I just have a question. How come maintenance decided not to perform the work or wasn't able to?
I mean, that was the point when we were doing the Desert View and the Sierra Auditorium, the painting and everything, getting them ready, so we couldn't fit it in.
The time? Mhm.
Yeah, that was just a time crunch.
So it has here, I'm sorry, Mr. Verdugo, info action, but we had basically approved not to see for the 5, so we have to vote on the 4?
Not necessarily,
I
but
was going to say, because we already approved.
you already approved the not to exceed figure. We did
Yeah.
do that, so it's just info action.
It's more info,
It's
just
up.
letting us know that's what the total came to.
That's just saying, we don't need a motion or anything on that thing.
Not necessarily, sir.
We're just info with,
All right.
and then see the 5.
Apollo Gym bleachers, Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Bob will recall you approved some improvements, to make some improvements to Apollo's gymnasium. Also, direction was received to look at the bleachers at Apollo, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Gomez, what he did after that direction was received, and what the recommendation is tonight.
With Jim Crater of Norcom, he had one of Norcom's inspectors come out, and I met with Jim and his inspector, and Louis at Challenger. We reviewed the bleachers. They made a 6-page report and a fee for servicing those bleachers as an option, but they would not be able to repair all the things that are broken on the bleachers because they stopped manufacturing those parts in 1999. And so they're not available. So we also received a bid, and that bid was for new bleachers for $56,613.82. If we take there was discussion about reusing the wood for the bleachers and storing that in the carpentry shop and using it for projects around the district. And maintenance would be involved in doing that, as well as using all the metal struts and so forth, taking those and taking them to the recycling plant and getting funding for those. All the wheels, which is about 200 wheels or more on those bleachers, would be discarded in a dumpster. But that price, if we do that with maintenance being involved, instead of being $56,613.82, it's reduced to $53,413.82 for the new bleachers. And that would be, that's the Apollo price. We have, okay.
So the recommendation is not to exceed $56,613.82 with the potential of getting credits for our maintenance department to be involved in the demolition of the bleachers.
That's a contingency if the maintenance people can be freed up to help.
Yes.
But it's not really a guarantee.
Based on our conversation, I think it's pretty much well guaranteed, because what happens is the actual demolition will be, and disassembling of the old bleachers will be done by Norcon staff. They'll be setting aside the wood, so, and then our maintenance department, all that'll be involved is to carry out, take it away, that's it. So we get a credit of almost $3,000.
A little over 3,000.
Mr. Hernandez?
The question I have is, the parts that are broken on the bleachers that you're talking about, they can't be manufactured by a ironworking company that would manufacture parts exactly the same as what they have? At a lower cost? I mean, if they could,
I don't know.
if all it is a strap with holes on both sides, and some other company can do the exact same thing with the same type of steel, why not go that way? Rather than get a whole set of bleachers for $56,000. I would go along with replacing all the parts that somebody in town, I'm sure, could make it, and replacing all the wooden tops of all the seats with synthetic, so if they don't go bad.
Mr. Gomez?
Well, that's a good thought, and I would think that they could be manufactured, but we don't know the expense of that and the time involved and so forth, to do a limited number of custom parts like that. The other thing is that the present bleachers are not ADA compliant. They do not have railings on the ends. They do not have the required aisle in the center. These new bleachers would have that. So
Okay.
that's a potential
But it's
discussion
like
item also.
everything else. On a house, you don't have to remanufacture the house because it doesn't have the ground wires and the different things that it should have with the new times. You just have to live with whatever's there until it's completely useless. No? What is the time restraint that's what I want to know. What is the time restraint that we're talking about? That they have to have the bleachers yesterday or today?
I'm not aware. of
What are we
that.
trying to do?
I think,
Get there before we have,
I think my
Football games?
my understanding is that basically we set some standards in terms of expectations and facilities for our programs. And given the fact that Sierra got new bleachers, given the fact that Gallo Intermediates were refurbished, because they were refurbished to the extent of, what, $29,000 last year for Gallego. And we replaced other gym bleachers throughout the district, like at Desert View, at the auxiliary gym there. I think the expectation now is that these schools expect their facilities to be to the same standard as other middle schools or other schools.
My thing, oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Rodriguez?
There's a couple of things here. It seems as a block member, I see a pattern here that we're caught over a barrel because we are approving the new floors, and they come to the presentation for new floors, new logos, new school colors, and knowing that the bleachers are going to follow, because you don't want to put the bleachers to destroy that new floor you just put in. So let's shoot for the floor, and we'll get the bleachers next, because it's a given, they have to give it to us. They'll throw the ADA compliance at us, they'll throw that, well, you can't put old bleachers on the new floor, you just spent all this money, and you're gonna mess up the floor you paid for. And another thing, how much difference in size is Apollo versus Sierra? Because we spent $47,000 in change for Sierras, and we're spending almost $10,000 more for Apollo. And I would think that there would be not that much of a difference between the seating arrangements in each of the schools, and I don't see where the $10,000 difference in price comes from. And it's the same company, it's Norcom.
But didn't we put Sierras on one side of the court?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Are we gonna do this?
That's what we did.
Or even Challengers. Challengers is only on one side.
So this is Sierra, and Sierra's was $47,000. It's on two sides, I believe, and now we have Apollo that's gonna be almost $10,000 more from the same contractor
And a smaller school.
at a smaller school. So I don't understand what the discrepancy is and why the difference in cost.
I don't know how many seats are in Sierra. I don't have that information with me right now, but there's 450 seats for the $56,000 figure at Apollo for the new Sierra.
Well, let's bring it down $10,000 to what Sierra has if we're gonna start, trying to compare apples to apples here and provide the same equality across the district.
That's what my thing is. I know Apollo's gym's, to me, smaller than Sierra's. I know they have bleachers on both sides. If we're doing one side at Sierra and they're one side at Challenger, let's do one side at Apollo, because they're also Apollo's enrollment is dwindling. And who knows what's gonna happen in the future. So to be investing all this money, yeah, okay, the kids are there, they got the new floor, schools are trickling down with the info, we got this, how come you guys didn't get it, blah, 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 because that's how I see it. But the thing is, yeah, they do need to be repaired, but with the case being lower enrollment, and why do we need to put them on both sides of the walls and not do one like everybody else?
Mr. Gomez?
The athletic director at Challenger, that's his preference, is to have them on one side. On the other side, they have a large screen, and they use it often for other types of gatherings and uses. So they only wanted, their choice was, if given the choice, is to take all the old bleachers away and bring one new set of bleachers for one side.
Then we could accommodate Apollo the same way, correct?
Well, I haven't heard Mr. Masani's point of view on that, so.
Can we question?
But physically, yes, but I don't know his point of view on
Can we
that.
table this particular one?
If that's, we can table it, because there's no rush on it, because the installation wasn't scheduled till when, the fall break, if it happened.
That would, yeah, would be the fall, no, it would be Christmas break.
Okay.
Norcom's full already with the fall break there.
Can we ask Brock to approve a not to exceed dollar amounts similar to Sierra's, and that way we can proceed with it and not have to affect the schedule?
What was Challengers?
Challengers is, it's 31,000.
I like that price better.
So can we have Brock's approval to proceed along those lines, that way we won't affect the
Not to
schedule?
exceed 31 on both?
Okay, well, 30, yeah.
Well, it's 31,989,
92.
92.
Okay.
So, but because of dimensions, I mean, how's Challengers?
Well,
On the east wall, that's
Yeah.
one long wall there. And then, because I think the length of the gym at Challenger is longer, because I think Apollo's more box style.
I think we had columns in the way. too,
Yeah, I'm trying to
Challenger.
remember.
There's some standing columns.
So if we agree to the same price, then Apollo would have to get them on one side. And the same dimensions, whether you get input from the principal or not.
And then you still got the same size basketball court.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was standard.
Yeah.
Is the capacity basically the same?
Well, it could be more, though, because if it's a bigger gym, but the actual gym basketball court's the same size. So,
Because, but it looks like Apollo
has a
looks like
standard
more
in all
boxy,
Yeah.
and Challenger looks longer. Apollo to me is
More Apollo is smaller and Challenger is bigger.
Longer.
And the bleacher, I know because I, the bleacher is in good condition, I know.
30s.
And Apollo?
It's a good position.
yeah.
So this will replace it.
But then it's not compliant with
Yeah.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna have that.
Their team only has.
That would solve, if you just give us a not to exceed figure, just 31,989.92, and we'll work with that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you need to take it back to the principals of each school, that this is what we're doing.
Okay.
So how would you motion that?
The motion would be then to approve the organization's revised list of a Hussey maximum Apollo not to exceed $31,989.92.
I make the motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei?
Yes.
Mr. Verdul?
Yes. Challenger gym bleachers, Mr. Encinas.
Same thing, sir, that's basically we're asking BOC approval to install a Hussey maximum 5-tiered bleacher system at Challenger for an amount not to exceed $31,982.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Roll call?
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei?
Yes.
Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Los Chitos Attic carpet replacement, Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. You had a chance to review or take a site visit of our facility here, Los Anchitos. Request is to have approval to proceed with the installation of new carpeting in 3 classrooms. Recommendation is for 3 of those classrooms to award to IFS in the amount of $8,581.37. I would add that we request your approval to identify those 3 rooms, those being the ones needing the most replacement at this time. And I'll just make a comment also. I don't know, after your site visitation, you might want to decide to put more carpet. I don't know. Okay, it's up to you.
Question. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we always ask, we've been saying we want 3 bids, but why is wholesale floors in here?
Oh, because we needed to get.
Because he had a bid, he
we
needed
need-
the 3 bids.
Yes,
Okay. 'Cause you know we ain't doing business with them.
right. We actually got 4, a late one, which was more than these 3. Was it Aztec flooring?
It was Aztec flooring, and they were late, and so to meet the deadline, I put in the bid that I had from Wholesale. They weren't the low bid.
They were a little bit?
They were not the low bid.
Okay. Yeah, because you bid it out, and then you have to take whatever bids come in. Okay, I got it.
So the question now is we have a cost per square foot, is it? Or-
Roughly, to take consideration to the conference. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe divided by 3, this number by 3.
so-
Yeah, that was going to be my comment, if there's any way that we can figure out what the cost per square foot is, and seeing what we're trying to do here and bringing in different services, and for them to come into our conference room here and see the condition of the carpet first thing, I think that should be included in the proposal.
Yeah.
This is a square foot.
I think that they want the tile there as part of
It is
the
wholesale
walkway,
floor.
so it stays,
I don't know if I still use it.
not without, but if they want the whole thing,
You said a square foot too.
would you want the whole thing, conference room, would you want the whole thing carpeted,
220
carpet
yards.
squares?
Actually, I
So
think the
that's
carpet
about-
squares make perfect.
But over the tile also?
Square feet.
The whole room?
You have to divide that by
Oh,
3.
usually we do, well, it's fine the way it is, it's
Yeah.
just,
Okay.
it's
Divide that
just
by
part of it,
3.
flooring and
85,
carpet.
81,
Carpeting
87,
part.
81, 85,
Because the thing is conference. I mean, it's exposure there.
So it comes out to 2860.46 per class.
28 what?
2860.46.
This is the square foot of the classroom.
Mentioned that.
So you divide it by that, you get your square foot.
For WF. IFS.
So we do this, divide it.
But this include everything is needed, because I remember this another rule is in part. How many rules is go to be, Mr. Encina?
57 square foot.
How many rules?
But about-
I know we were looking at 3 rooms, so the 201 that we saw where the hole was in the carpet, and then on the other side, room 206, we're not going to do 204 because the equipment over there. And then the first one we went into 205.
304, that's close.
This one was broken. So it's 3 rooms.
So then with the additional conference room would be 4, right?
Yeah.
Throwing in the conference room.
You're good. Well, thank you.
So 20, 85, 75.
Got a question. So
My wish list is.
the people that bid the room, they have to have known how many square feet were being bid on.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me that?
2,826 square feet.
2,000?
2,826. And the price involved, that they propose is removal of all carpeting, preparing the floor, new coat base, new carpet in the areas that are identified as carpet, and
And transition between the, strip between the tiles.
Transition strip too.
so if we take the unit price or the price for 3 classrooms from the low bidder of 8536, 8137 divided that by the square foot times 4 classrooms would be $11,375.16. 11,375.16.
Well, that's what they're asking for now, though.
If we had additional classroom,
So isn't she asking for that now?
I think, yes.
Yeah, because all the rooms are the same dimensions,
Yes.
right? Yeah, okay. Just to be sure.
That's the main conference room, sir. That's the main conference room. She wasn't asking for that. We had to sign it so big.
No,
Yes,
6.
because anything is right now is needed, is better, is complete all together. It's the way all together.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bigger strip.
We have a motion on this?
motion to approve.
Okay. Okay, these are the cuatro puertas.
Yes, I motion to approve that for rooms or los ranchitos. For 11.
375, 16?
Yes, sir.
I second.
For lunch. Roll call.
Ms. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yep.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero? Yes. Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei?
Yes.
Mr. Redondo?
Bathroom renovation project, ADA compliant, entry access and door replacement.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. At the last BOP meeting, committee did approve awarding a contract to Midstate to make improvements to our bathrooms to be ADA compliant. They cited a 1 GPA contract that would allow them to be awarded the bid. Our purchasing department, in doing their due diligence of contracts, discovered that that contract that they referenced was not valid for this type of work by Midstate, and therefore we could not award Midstate a bid to do that work under that contract. We therefore have written another quote from Lloyd Construction for $143,260.85, which is a valid and acceptable bid, and request BOC to approve that it award the bid to Lloyd Construction in that amount. And Mr. Gomez has got a comment.
Mr. Gomez?
I had a late email today from Brian Hale of Lloyd Construction on this issue, and he said that this is an E-Gordian JOC contract, and he said based on the 30-day term of it, that they have to rebid on their new pricing, and that he has no choice in it. So what Brian and I talked about is I'm going to go out with him next week, and he wants to get the bid tighter, so we're going to find an average frame wall that needs the ADA compliant doorway widened and the new door and so forth. And the masonry he already has, and we're going to provide both. And then he's going to put together a bid not to exceed this 143 figure. Around there might be some cents different, whatever, but basically that's the mark. And with an agreement that if we don't spend it all, that he doesn't get paid it, but at least to have a figure for 2 types of door openings, one in a frame wall and one in a masonry wall. There's some cases where some of the schools, the doorways are already wide enough. So we're gonna get that and present it at the next block.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gomez, what was the previous bid on this particular one for the Midstate?
139.
131?
139.
It's up there, 463.
Okay, so it's still.
I was gonna say, did not Midstate know that they weren't qualified to do this work, and why did they put the bid in?
They were under the impression that the 1 GPA contract allowed them to perform this work. It does allow them to perform certain construction work, but not this type of work. Apparently, they're that specific in the bid awarding.
Well, that's good, though. But you think they know.
So if we, so with our approval tonight, it'll be taken to the governing board, and so
Not to exceed.
it's not gonna change that we've already selected Lloyd as a contractor, right?
That's correct, sir. The recommendation would be to go with Lloyd to not to exceed 143,260.85.
That's the motion.
I'd like to make the motion.
Second? Roll call?
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Yes. Mr. Reddick?
Yes. Lawn project update, Mr. Encinas?
Okay, here's the show and tell today. Okay, as far as letting everybody know, as far as where we're at with project that you've approved, I'll turn this over to, first I'll let Mr. Valdez start his presentation. Mr. Valdez is the individual that oversaw and is overseeing the installation of playground equipment throughout the school district. I think he approved it over $187,000, if I'm not mistaken, or was it more than that?
Total cost.
No, more than
Total
that.
cost that we have going so far is $578,873.
Was I way off? I was thinking of painting, it's painted wrought iron was 187.
There you go. I mean,
I'll pass that a spreadsheet and everything. I'll wait for Mr. Baca to bring up the presentation that we have. I put together a quick presentation, good evening. I put together a quick presentation to show you the progress that we're making on the playground equipment at different sites. Currently, we're working, as you've done in Mission Manor, we're working at all the other sites, and I'll show the progress. So while he's bringing that up, I'll pass out a spreadsheet here which identifies where we're at with each project and anticipated start dates and completion dates.
Is that sand you have at Ocotillo over there?
Yes, we're taking all the sand out.
Spread it everywhere.
They call it pre-engineered, the Sondas.
Oh, that's engineered wood fiber. That's what we're putting in, yeah. Yes, what's in front in the parking lot, there's the engineered wood fiber that's going to go into the Ocotillo playground. So while we're waiting for Mr. Baca to bring that up, we can go over this. If you notice, we have 8 sites that we're working on and the different completed status. So here we go. So this is a status report for the playground equipment. This is phase 1 that we're looking at, which is the original 8 schools that were approved. Thank you. So we look at the sites that we're looking at as Mission Manor, Los Niños, Ocotillo, Elvira, Craycroft, Sierra, Liberty, and Esperanza. So far what we're looking at, what we've done, and so Mission Manor, we've got 100% completed. It was approved by the principals, and we're working with the principals to identify the colors, to identify the structures that have gone in, and we're working with the principals to make sure that they're good with the structure before it's done. As what we also did is before we went through and did the actual site selection, we looked to make sure that we could be as close to the school as possible and to the sidewalks as possible so that we can minimize the amount of travel that ADA students have to look at or have to go to get to the site. And then we're also going to be coming back to the BOC. If you remembered when you approved the project, we're going to be coming back once we have identified the amount of linear feet that we're going to need to look at for the pathways to come from the school into the site itself. So that was during construction or at the beginning of the excavation, and this is it now. So if you notice, we have a 12-inch compacted engineered wood fiber base on it. If you look at it, if you walk on it today, I was walking on it, it's like walking on carpet with a really good pad. It is so squishy and really nice. The principal loved it. He says it came out better than what he thought it did. Los Niños, progress at Los Niños, the site, we moved the site, as you can tell. Originally, the site where the original playground structure that we were replacing was actually located on the east fence line along Los Niños, which meant students with ADA disabilities would have to cross the entire playground from the school. If you look at it now, where we have it located, it's right, they come out the doorway here, and it's going to minimize the amount of distance that they're going to have to travel to get to the playground structure itself. That's it, the beginning of construction, and this is it as of today. The forms are going to come up, and we should be pouring concrete by tomorrow. And once it's all set and formed, you can see the depth
that it's going to go, and there's the engineered wood fiber right behind it. Ocotillo, there was a lot of sand that we had to take out. This is probably one of the larger projects that we had. We had to take a lot of sand and dirt out of there. I'll tell you, our maintenance crew has done a great job. They've gone in and removed all the sand and prepared the site for excavation. They've done a great job. They've removed the existing play structures there that were not age compliant for the students, and Mr. Ohm was facing violations for and possible certification issues because of the structures that were there were not age compliant for his population. So working with the contractor, we're taking this all out, and when we get done, there's actually going to be 3 separate playgrounds that are going to be in there once we're done. That's how it looks. A little bit more excavated today and then formed up for the inclusion of the wood fiber that's going to be brought in.
How much money did our crews save us as a result of them doing some of that?
What we're looking at is the crews actually went in and pulled out the old equipment at all the sites, which is saving us a minimum, just pulling out the equipment, or is saving us a minimum about $3,000 to $3,500 per site. So that's allowing us to remain at or below budget for all these sites. Yes, sir.
On some of the previous slides, do we have anybody from the district overseeing the excavation for the footings for this playground equipment, or we relying solely on the contractor, on his boards? Because
no, our staff and our maintenance crew, myself, Mr. Valencia, have been intimately involved
you guys
in
have
all
the
the sites.
spec sheets on the depth.
Yeah,
Most of them don't have rebar, it's just the hole, big hole, deep foot hole, sometimes 30.
Right, well, we've been working with them, we've been intimately involved, and the good thing I will say about Play It Safe, which is the contractor doing most of the work as of today, is their project manager is down here 2 to 3 times a week. And we meet with him constantly. We're working at the sites. We've been having really good interaction with the construction crew, the project manager, Mr. Valencia, myself, and our crews that are working the areas to make sure that we're all communicating and we're going to the right depths as needed.
And then on the equipment removal, the old equipment removal, are they storing it somewhere?
Because of the big concrete, we just can't use it. It would take us forever to break all that concrete off.
Where is it getting hauled away, just a dump?
Yeah, we're hauling it and putting it in our dumpsters and recycling it. We're sending it to recyclers. But it's just so big. I mean, at Ocotillo alone, we had to take out one of the old swing sets that was in the rubberized area. And initially, with the contractor, we thought it was going to be maybe a 1-foot circular piece of concrete that they're going to pull out, like a mailbox post or something. And it ended up being almost a 4x4 piece of concrete that was about 2 feet deep. And it was a bear to load it on the trailer and get it out of there. So that's what we're finding. But our guys, I really want to say that and give kudos to the maintenance crew that's been out there working really well with the contractors, and the contractors have been steering them along as to what they need and what they don't need.
Another point, I think we're saving a lot more money by hauling that away ourselves, because, previous contractor charged us $9,000 to move an approach to a portable 2.4 miles. So I think when you look into relation to what we paid in the past for having a contractor that was friends of the district versus us people doing it, I think we're saving a lot more money than.
So, and working with the contractors, when our final bill is coming in, we know that we're at minimum saving at least between $3,000 and $3,500 per site just for pulling the old equipment out. We haven't even talked about the savings on the excavation that we've done. So, and then we're going to be using the old sand and dirt that we can to level out some of the playgrounds and add some extra sand to some of the playground structures that we're not touching. So like I said, that's Ocotillo. We've had some rain delays at Ocotillo because of the big rains that we've had recently. And that set the progress back on the project a couple days, but they're working full bore to try to get it done as soon as possible. So the schedule, if you see the schedule in front of you, we can see that there are additional 5 other schools that are already in progress. We have 2 crews, two separate installers, because you remember, some of the schools selected to go with a different company. So most of them went with Play It Safe playground equipment, and the other 2 schools, Sierra and Craycroft, went with Dave Bang. So each company has their crews here. The only issue that we're going to come up against is Liberty School and Esperanza. Those are going to be right up to the beginning of school. They'll be working, but both companies know that they need to be done prior to the opening of school. And if they have to go over, that we can allow them to work nights and weekends, but we won't have equipment or kids at the same time on the playgrounds for safety reasons. And we've gone over that with their contractors, but there's the 2 schools, and we've been reassured that should we push either of these schools into the school year, that they'll be done within the first week and a half of school. The budget, as we've been talking about in the budget, we're going to net a savings of at minimum between $3,000 and $3,500 on top of everything, because we're doing the removal of the existing playgrounds, but that has not gone into, we're going to show a better savings when we start looking at the excavation that we've done. There's been a couple sites that are just so big, like Elvira, the amount of sand that has to be removed out of there and prepare that, we just don't have the staffing or the time to do it because of the other projects we have going. So they're going to go ahead and do that also. That may take us right up to the budgeted amount. But the other sites, we're doing what we can to save as much as we can for the district. Any questions?
Looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Morales?
Any question?
No, I want to say thank you to you, because I like that you stay involved in all the projects and everything.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Morales, our Director of Security, has been overseeing the installation of the security improvements at the schools that you approved, with work being done by Liberty Fence. And so, Mr. Morales, I'll just let you take it from here and let the block committee know where you're at.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Came before you guys last year to ask for some funds so that we could secure some of, we had 8 elementary schools that we're looking at that we wanted to secure and bring some extra protection, harden each school to make it more difficult for person to get in, that they have to check in at the front desk and just not walk through. So we started this project, and right now what we've done is we have one that's completed. I have a picture of the one at Los Niños that's been completed. It's all ADA compliant that we've done it. Been working with the principals. It was kind of hard because some of the principals were gone for the summer, so I didn't want to make too many moves without them, because I was concerned that if I did, then they'd tell us I wanted something painted differently, which happened at one school, so we kind of did that. But we've completed the one at Los Niños, and oh my God, here. Do we have one there? That's the one at Los Niños that we completed, and I checked with the people over there. They're fine with it. As you can see, we have 2 gates that go out, which are these 2 right there, and then one to be buzzed in. So we have the electronic switch that they can push from the office, but this will direct people directly to the office first. So they have to check in, and then we will let them in. I know there's been some concerns about, well, the way they look and that type of thing, but this is the most effective way and the fastest way that we can get them up. Right now, we're in the process of doing some of you, they're painting the doors. Some of you, it should be completed by next week. And then speaking with Philip, who really worked hard with us at this point, we should probably have them all done by the end of August, in the schools. Now, some of the schools are in need of glass that we've got to talk about here, because the glass here, it's not, and I say this to you, they want bulletproof glass, the schools. And a lot of that is because, and I was talking to Mr. Encinas, is because one of our schools, which is the Gallego Intermediate, has it, and the other principal are saying, but what? You know, we chop liver here, you know, type of thing. So
We've heard that.
yeah. So tomorrow I'm meeting with the glass company to do some walkthroughs so that we can do this to some of you, so that we can do some of you, and we want to bring this one down a little bit to about right here, So that way the receptionist or the secretary is there, can just roll up to it. And then what happens is they'll turn in right to here first before they move on into the actual school itself. And they will be buzzed in also. And that'll be, and that fence there that we're gonna have here at Summit is gonna be much like the one that we have at Los Niños. It'll be the same. Each one's gonna be a little bit different. So we got that one, and then can you show the...
On your thing right here, and it says that you're asking for tempered glass, you're actually asking for bulletproof.
Well, I don't know, I'm getting a range for both, but I know that's gonna come out, so I'm just gonna...
As tempered glass, you still break tempered glass.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I just know the principals are gonna come back and say that, so I'm just kinda, because I already heard it. So I talked with Hector, I said, we're gonna have to get that range and see where we go, so I'll have a little more information tomorrow. But this here, this is at Mission Manor. And at Mission Manor, right now, the gate will be going up after we finish. We're gonna do finish up Summit View, we're gonna do Esperanza, then we're gonna go to Mission Manor and do that one. But here, it's a big opening. So here and they used to have glass there many, many years ago. And they took it down and I don't know what happened to it. So we've gotta get a new one here because people can just walk in and they can just jump through that very easily because it's pretty low. Yep.
The other picture with the glass, is that, is there a way to talk to people through there? Or
Yeah, well, that's what we want to make, you know, like when you go to the
Telephone
movie, yeah, you know, like when you go to the movies, you can talk to that person. Yeah, we want to make it as friendly as we can, but at the same time protect for the people that are there. So that's what we want to do.
Mr. Verdugo, just to kind of jump in, because we've been having other discussions around this. I think my concern, just from where I'm sitting, is also, I don't want our schools to look like prisons as well. I mean, there's that balance between safety and to what extreme do you go, right? And so one of the things that I'd like us to consider, that when we come back, not necessarily just putting the glass in the front, but potentially having a buzzer at the very front door before anyone is let in. Potentially, I mean, because we can continue to put more and more barriers, and I mean, we can start all the way in the front of the gate. I mean, the more extreme we get in this, the more it becomes looking less and less welcoming. And the last thing I want is the place where you go and have a face-to-face contact, that every time that there's going to be a big bulletproof glass. So I would like us to consider maybe some other options, maybe as you're thinking through between now and the next time we meet. You know, some of the things we may propose are more of a buzzer type of system, so that there's a buzzer before you get to the door, but once you are buzzed in, there's more, you're there. But again, I just go back to at what point does it end when you're trying to create a safe environment, and at what point does that become an unwelcoming environment? So just consideration as we're moving forward. We'll come with more proposals, but I just want to make sure you got a sense of where my thinking is.
This window is in the entrance, right?
Right.
But there's also a window from that office that faces outer building.
On the other side, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Would you think of bulletproofing that one as
No.
well, or just the one on the
Just
end?
this one right here. I mean, I'm just throwing this out. I'd
No,
like
I'm
Mr.
just
Olmsted,
saying,
yeah, we're
so
just.
you're talking
yeah.
that way.
Right, yeah.
They may
Just this
also
one.
bring it up.
Yeah, you're right, they will. But yeah, that's right before you go in. And-
Yeah.
And these windows that we want to put in is right before you walk in. So you'll be there, so you just can't go any further until you check in there, at least there.
I remember the one, as you enter, there's a little window over here to the left on the entrance.
Right.
Got a question. Wouldn't it be easier just to put in metal detectors rather than go through the bulletproof glass and everything? Because if you got them right at the beginning, when they came in, and the metal detector went off, the first gate they would come to, you wouldn't let them in.
Right.
If they went through, all we have to do is disguise them so that they don't look like a metal detector, and let them walk in.
Yeah.
Make it feel welcoming, but I don't know how much a metal detector would cost.
Yeah, I think.
Do we have any idea?
I don't know, only because I've never looked into it, but I've seen the ones in Los Angeles and Chicago, and unfortunately, they don't look too inviting, It's like going to, I hate to say this.
Well, that's why I'm saying disguise it.
Yeah,
I mean,
they look like you're
there's a lot of things you can
going
do.
to an airport type of thing when you walk through. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it reminds me of. But I mean, something we can consider, I think, I would say this, I think they're more expensive than what we're doing right now. I mean, that's my opinion, but I don't have any basis on it.
Well, could we find out?
Sure.
Because that would make it really inviting if you let them through the first gate, and then when the metal detector went off, you just say, hey, you can't go any further. You just got something on you.
My sister-in-law wears a brace, and she really takes offense to this.
Yeah, and there is people like that.
Everywhere she goes, she gets stopped.
I don't want to be silly about this, but even going to the courthouse, if you have an underwire bra, you're going to set it off.
Right. Yeah, I know that to be personal, but my wife has a bad back, and they put in some titanium plates. Yeah, and then it always sets it off. So, I mean, those are things we have to.
I would say no to them.
I want you to renew my passport.
But this is Mission Manor, so and this is the biggest one that we have here that we've got to take a look at. And I'll have more information on that tomorrow. And we have now this is at Santa Clara. At Santa Clara, this is already facing out, and they already have a buzzer, like Mr. Holmes was talking about, from the outside, but they can see outside. And so we want to change that glass also. But we're going back to Mr. Holmes. What he was saying is that buzzer is already there from the secretary / receptionist to the front door, so they can't even get inside. Only because the way it's built, right away you walk in and you can go into the cafeteria, multi-purpose room, and you have free room. And so exactly, and that's why I say is that we just got to make it a little bit safer, as much safer as possible for our students and our staff that are there as possible. At least this one here. Yeah.
Mr. Morales, right now, EMC Squared Architects out of Phoenix, Bach approved them to do a remodeling design for Santa Clara. And walking through with Mr. Badia and Dominic of EMC Squared, what was decided is that covered walkway right now that you're showing there would be demolished. And then a new covering that's enclosed that has doors would be in its place, and it would be basically almost identical to the entrance at Gallegos Intermediate. It'd be almost, that space is almost the same size.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You'd come in the doors, and right there, that window is going to be widened in the proposal, and it would be just like Gallegos Intermediate, but they're bulletproof glass, but it would be twice the length.
Okay.
That's what Mr. Badia liked. We went over and looked at Gallegos. And so that's going to become interior space.
Oh, okay. Yes, yeah. This all news to me, so.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, then.
We'll just hold off on Santa Clara.
Yeah, we'll just hold off at Santa Clara, right, exactly.
Until
And just hold off until, so we can do that once we get that. So this is basically out of the question, but that's the kinds of things that we're looking at. When speaking with Philip, who I think did a very good job with I don't know if you've seen the gates over at Desert View that he's put in, which had been a long time coming, almost 30 years. But they did a very good job, and he had to tweak a few. We had some arrangements at the last minute where he had to add something. We found out kids were sticking their arms through, able to open the gates on the inside, so we had to go back and put like a brace in there. So, but right now, as I speak right now, everything seems to be working very well. And I spoke to Mr. Gastalum, and he's pleased with them. So thank you guys for approving the funds for that, and thank Philip for getting that done. But we should have more of an update by the next BOC meeting, and hopefully the project will be completed at all the rest of the schools. But that's the direction we're moving, in. Do you have any questions, or? Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank. And last but not least, Mr. Jones, I think and everything else here. Here's the rest of where we stand in terms of BOC projects. He's been a very busy individual, so.
First off, I apologize that I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. I'll try to do that next time. It's easier to have control than asking Mr. Baca to help out. But Mr. Baca, if you could pull up those in the order that I emailed them to you. I have some photographs of project progress. And we'll start with Desert View High School tennis courts.
It's a halo effect.
This is the court and a half that was demolished. You can see how originally it was blocked in the ticket office. There's no handicap parking over here, but before graduation, we did add a new sidewalk and it's ADA compliant with the gate. But now we need to get handicap parking there. The nearest handicap parking is quite a hike away. And so that's been demolished. Next photo, please. This is what it looks like now. And originally in the bid, Elite was going to put was going to compact this and put decomposed granite, but because of the fine arts project that's going to involve utilizing this as part of the parking lot, so we on that, so we received a $7,000 credit that we didn't need to spend for that. And in the proposal that EMC Squared Architects is working on the Fine Arts Edition, this would be demolished and this would become parking area. Over here by the redone tennis courts, it would be handicap parking for the sports complex. Also, in speaking with Mr. Valdez about the bus route, this radius that they've been using is very tight. It doesn't really meet the requirements that the buses need to have, which is the same as a fire truck would use. So they're going to have a more generous sweep. Next photo, please. And next photo. It's just showing what the lot looks like presently.
That's the demolished part?
This is the demolished, it was a court and a half of tennis. And also, this is where the fence was removed, and we used to have another fence around here. They deliberately removed, and then they cut off the post on the concrete strip that was fixed. Next photo. So right now, when this is demolished, the buses will be able to go like this and line up with that exit. So it makes a lot more sense as far as the circulation of the parking lot. This parking light is one that can be relocated when they're remodeling this parking lot. Next photo.
Those are all of them on
That's all of them?
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
When you say the buses can line up, the buses that bring in the kids for events or the daily drop-off where they have?
Well, I was referring to the daily drop-off, where they line up on the curb right now.
Yeah, because they have that new street, whatever it's called. What is it called? An extra way or something?
If I can answer that question. We actually have two areas within the school that we pick up and drop off, specifically in the pickups. We have, because we have buses that go south towards the Summit View area, we have other buses that go west within the district. Yeah, we have it staged in two areas because the buses that leave here that go towards south, it's easier for them to get onto Valencia and then make the left-hand turn onto Alvernon to continue south towards Summit View. And then the other buses that are staged on Jaguar Lane, they can leave and go onto Alvernon and then go to their route within the district. So that's why we have to have two areas.
That was the assumption everybody backed off on that.
A majority of our buses do get dropped off, or do pick up on Jaguar Lane, but we do have some buses that go down towards Summit View, and then some of our special ed buses that, so the students don't have to walk all the way across.
Thank you.
Got a question. You're saying that whole area there is going to be used for parking and for turnaround for the buses, right?
Well,
Or no?
From the curb over here, they just, when they turn their radius, they're going to have the proper radius. But they will be coming down this way, and they'll be able to exit gates if that's what Mr. Valdez has in mind.
No, I understood that part. But you're saying you want a demolition, all that concrete right there in the middle, right?
Right here, and then right now, that's just AB.
Okay. Because what I'm saying is, why don't you just cut a strip out so that the bus can pass through and another one on the other side, so we don't waste so much money on pulling out concrete that's not going to hurt anything if it stays there.
That's a good idea. That's something we can review at the next box meeting with the several schematics from EMC.
And use the space in between where it makes the radius, put in parking spaces enough so that make sure the buses have plenty of room, but maybe it'll have 7 or 8 parking spaces there that can be used, too.
So we can review those at the next spot from EMC Squared so that we can have 2 or 3 proposals to look at the parking lot and decide which is the most efficient. And of course, get feedback from Mr. Valdez as well as Mr. Costello about, what's the best program for the buses and the car parking. Next group of photos, I think it's the drainage. If that's on there. There we go. This is the tennis court project. Next photo, please. This is showing the work that Copper Hill did this past week, and they're forming for the drain. It's a 12-inch curve. It goes a little bit deeper than that into the soil. They ran a well number 4 at the nose bore at the top so that the curve would last. And so right now with this slope that goes down this way, the water can divert about mid-court, right around this area. If the water would drain towards an existing basin, concrete basin that's opposite the side of the racquetball courts. And on this side, the water is going to go to the retention area where there's presently a container that the track coach is using for storage. Next photo, please. This is just showing the number 4 bar and the way they laid out their forming. Next photo. Right here at the end, they turned the curve so that when the water is coming down, it would be directed into this basin. As soon as the racquetball courts are completed, this container won't be there, and that because this whole area is retention area. And during the rains, the grading improvements that we have here, the water ends up in retention. Next photo. This is just to remind me that they did compact the subgrade before they put their forms. Copper Hill did an excellent job in all of their work. Next photo. They screened off when they were pouring concrete so that the courts were protected. Next photo. Next photo. And then they tooled the joints well, and when you see it out there, you can see that they did a very professional job. The next grouping of photos would be the Desert High weight room. The Desert High weight room is just about completed. The walls have been completed. Maintenance did an excellent job in texturing these walls. So these are all blue spots from the acoustical tile that used to be up there. So they textured the walls and they repainted. Next photo. You can see the scope of work, the size of the room. There was a lot of effort, but it really came out well. Next photo.
It was seized 2 years ago.
This is the finished weight room. There's a little bit of carpeting left, and that was a misorder or misdelivery with the advanced equipment. So there's a strip in the middle that's missing, but all the weights along both sides of the walls and machines are in so that the students can use this. And I haven't received a delivery date for the carpet, but it should be in, I was told, 2 or 3 weeks. And when that arrives, advanced equipment will come and remove the weights that are in the center of the room, and install the carpet and put them all back, and we can do it after hours. Next photo. This is just showing some of the equipment. These are 9-foot high weightlifting machines. They weigh about 900 pounds, so it took them about 3 to 4 days to install the equipment, and 2 days for the flooring. These dark areas here are special cut-ins so that when they're lifting their weights, they can drop the bars and it won't damage the flooring on these black cutting areas. That's what goes through there. Next photo.
Yeah.
Next photo. There we go. Here's showing the strip that's missing. So advanced, that was just one of those things that happens. But advanced equipment is cooperating fully with this, and they're doing an excellent job in the installation. And of course, this weight room, besides having the textured walls, the painted, the new flooring, the equipment, it has new tile on the ceilings and new lighting, and these lights can be dimmed. They also turn on as you walk in the room, like some of the other squares that we have. Next group of photos. Let's see, Sierra Middle School. Auditorium. This is Sierra Middle School. Our maintenance department did the painting on this also. Norcom came in and demoed all the seating that was there, the plastic seating. And then maintenance came in and they did a 3-color painting. There's a light gray here that matches the ceiling, which is it's a new ceiling grid that's gray, and the tile is gray. All new light fixtures that are also dimmable. And they're dimmable in sections, like just the stage area or the audience area, or the back by the doors. And then, so it was 3 colors, the light gray, the dark gray band. The dark gray matches the backs and the stands of the new seating. And then the back wall's purple, which is Sierra's color, and this front wall is purple. Next photo. When they took out the old ceiling, the old bats were twice the weight just about of normal bats because of how much dirt was in them. And so, next photo, we went ahead and got a purchase order that Hector provided right away for, I believe it was $1,300 for Home Depot to deliver new R19 bats. And so before they put up the new ceiling, well, as they put up the new ceiling, they put in those bats in placement, and that was unexpected. Next photo. And this is just showing the new grid coming in, and then they left the lighting in its original configuration, and Midstate came in after that, and they changed out the light fixtures into the new fixtures that were previously approved by Bob. Next photo. Here's just some of the work doing that. The new fixtures are already in. Right here, these are grills. This is a mechanical diffuser. And so these we've taken down, we're going to have them sprayed gray and then put them back up so that they match the ceiling. That will be part of the touch-up that we do in this room as it's completed. Next photo. Now, when Flooring Systems of Arizona came in, they had excellent equipment. They had a $10,000 vacuum, because I'd asked them about how, in discussions, pre-construction, how we're going to stage you guys so that you're not getting dust on the new ceiling and so forth. They said, no, we have a $10,000 vacuum system. And so this was their equipment, and so they as they're grinding, they're sucking it up. Next photo. Here's their grinder and their vacuum equipment. They were to polish all of the concrete flooring that would be under the seating. And then the 3 aisles are going to be carpeted, including the back aisle and the aisle in front of this area here. That work will be completed this Saturday, or Friday and Saturday. Next photo. These are the bags of dust. So instead of it being airborne, they capture it right away, they put it out there, and they had a lot more than this, and then they take it to the dumpster. So it's a very excellent process. Next photo. This is the polished concrete that would be under the seating area. Next photo. And this is once the chairs have come in. The new seating does have aisle numbers and seat numbers all the way across the shop. This is the new carpet that's going through the whole auditorium. They've just done the stage part so far. There's a new tile in here. This isn't a very good photo. I apologize for that, but the new tile in the 2 storage rooms that are in the back of the auditorium. And they're waiting to get their wall base and their transitions, and all that came in today. It was delivered today, ready for them to continue on Friday and Saturday. Next photo. This is just showing a close-up of the chairs. All of it is the backing and the stands and arms are dark gray, and then the seating is purple. Before it was plastic. I think it was 125 or so seats. They were delivered. The new seats were 192. Next photo. This is showing the seats in place. There's 3 groups of seating. The 2 side seatings are 20-inch seats, and the center seat section is 21-inch seats. Next photo. This is what the restaurant is waiting to get the carpeting in and all the wall base. Next photo.
Compared to what it was.
So there'll be a band of carpet here and down the aisles in the back, and they're happy with what's going on so so far. And again, maintenance did an excellent job in painting. We just had a little touch-up to do that we'll do at the end of the month. Next photo. This is showing how you can dim the lights. And you can have, if there's a performance, you can have lights in, you can set the brightness of those lights. So there's much more flexibility in the system.
Looks nice.
That's all of the presentation. Any questions? In your handouts, you each have, with the colors on it, the BOC update for all the projects. And there's 2 sheets on the back that show what was utilized as a project schedule. Those schedules were updated 3 times during the term of the project. And it turned out that that kind of layout was very effective. Contractors liked it a lot. Their names and phone numbers are on there, so if they need to communicate with each other. And everything is turning out to be on schedule with both the weight room and the auditorium.
And thank you for this information.
I got a question, Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
On number 3, on the Desert View High School, the weight improvement, it says, the ceiling, it says canceled. Was that canceled by Lloyd and then done by somebody else? And then underneath it says completed on number 3.
That was, we canceled Lloyd from doing the, we decided to install it ourselves because we could do it ourselves because in the weight room it did not involve a new grid.
That's right.
It just involved a new tile. So we went ahead and still had Lloyd deliver the tile that they had already ordered and then maintenance installed.
And instead of paying $7,000, we only paid $1,900 for it.
Right, there was a savings on it. There was a credit that we had on it. So that was a good economical decision. You also have a handout of the Fine Arts Center. Those are our schematics with a perspective drawing showing what's been approved by the design team, project team. And on the second page, there's a floor plan. And on that, you can see that the large space there at the bottom of the sheet, the orchestra space, and everything to its left and to its right are addition to the existing building. Between there and the other spaces above that, that's the present existing exterior wall. So that orchestra space is actually going to come invade into 50% of the driveway that's on the west side of that right now. So EMC Squared is doing a site plan to reconfigure that area. And that, where the drop-off is along the whole curve of the buses and so forth.
And so those trees have to go.
They look like they've already decided to go.
Yeah. Kind of give them a little credit here.
These are not windows. This is just showing the proposed metal grill, decorative grill that might stick out 12 or 18 inches from the wall because the space in here is about 20 feet, and then you've got maybe 4 feet or 5 feet of parapet. So it's a high wall, and this faces due west. So it's going to be a huge heat sink in the summer. So this is a line item that may or may not go through depending on the budget. Right now it's in a construction document phase. But all of this area here, and of course this wing here is an add-on to the existing exterior wall. The materials would match the existing materials. It would be masonry construction, it would be custom construction. And the discussions with Cindy Beauvais and Mid-State Engineering, everybody agreed that the best mechanical system would be the package units on it because then they don't have to start up chillers if they have things going on here in the evenings and so forth. They don't have to start up the entire chilling system. And so that would be the most energy efficient approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Request for future agenda items, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, sir. We're open to request any items that any BOC committee member may want to put on the next agenda. Otherwise, we'll just meet 2 weeks prior to the next meeting as a committee with the chair and the co-chair and set the agenda. In the meantime, if you have any suggestions or any requests, you can call Sandy at extension 545-2154, and we'll list it on the agenda.
Any unfinished business?
Make the motion to adjourn.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yeah.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Strong?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Mr. Reddy?
Yes.